A warship just appeared on our border, built for battle and powered by something we've never seen. People are terrified because the rumors say these newcomers can destroy entire fleets on their own. Let me show you why this encounter might change everything. Commander Tovin stared at the pulsing red lights washing over the control room walls. His light blue scales shifted with each wave of color, betraying his growing unease. He was in charge of Unity Station Atria 7, a remote outpost in the Deneb sector. In 15 years of monitoring space traffic, he had never seen a reading like this. The station's sensors had spotted a large vessel lurking near the Celestial Veil Nebula, a place known for high radiation and tricky navigation. Officer Kira tapped away at her console, antenna trembling with worry. She was the station's top scanner operator. "Commander," she said in a quiet but urgent voice, "these readings don't match any known design. It's armed, and I don't have a single reference that comes close to explaining this power signature." Tovin clenched his four-fingered hand into a fist. "Run a full spectral analysis. We need everything we can get." Kira and the rest of the crew moved swiftly. The tension in the room felt heavy, like a static charge just before a storm. Out here, far from the core worlds, they sometimes encountered strange ships, lost traders, or half-broken smugglers. But this dark silhouette looked too ominous, too purposeful. Lines of data flowed across the main screen, and Kira drew in a sharp breath. "Sir," she managed, "the hull plating is advanced battle steel. The weapon mounts." She paused as if the words caught in her throat. "They're massive, way beyond normal specs." Tovin's throat felt tight. There had been stories, of course, tales from the Storm of Five Moons, or the great expansions of old. He always figured those stories were half legend, half boast. He glanced at the main display, which now showed a direct visual. A vast, angular shape floated against the star field. Occasionally, ripples of energy flickered across its hull, like small bursts of lightning dancing under a dark sea. Officer Jorel, the youngest in the station crew, suddenly let out a gasp. "Commander, I ran a search in our restricted files. The shape, the plating, the design lines, it matches descriptions of a human warship." A shiver ran through the control room. Humanity was more of a rumor in this region. People spoke of them with hushed voices, unstoppable technology, unmatched cunning, the ability to outfight fleets 10 times their size. Nobody on Atria 7 had truly believed in those stories, or wanted to. Tovin swallowed. "Alert the council. Priority 1. Relay all skin data. And get me Admiral Viren on a secure line." As the crew scrambled, he stared at the visual feed of the alien warship. By size alone, it was maybe 300 meters end to end, not enormous compared to some Unity dreadnoughts. But size never told the full story. They say humans can hide a planet-busting cannon in something smaller than that. He muttered to himself that on the readout, the warship's energy levels rose and fell in irregular patterns. Tovin wondered if it was damaged. Then he remembered the stories about human trickery. They were known for playing helpless right before they struck. A moment later, Admiral Viren's stern face shimmered into view on the communicator. Tovin gave a quick summary. "Admiral, the station has identified a human vessel at the edge of our territory. It's just sitting there." Admiral Viren's eyes narrowed. "We can't take any chances," he replied. "Begin quiet evacuation protocols. I'll alert the Grand Council. Keep your sensors locked on that ship, but do nothing aggressive." "Understood." Tovin dipped his head. "Yes, Admiral." As the message ended, a new alarm caught everyone's attention. The mysterious warship slowly angled itself toward Atria 7. Energy readings spiked. Kira's voice trembled. "It's powering up, Commander." He felt his throat go dry. One question pounded in his mind. Were the rumors true? Could this single human warship really tear them apart in seconds? Meanwhile, on the warship, christened the Nova's Edge, Captain Aurora Wynn stood at a broad viewport, arms folded. Through the transparent panel, she observed the shimmering gas clouds of the celestial veil and, in the distance, a faint spark of light indicating the station. It had taken them a bit longer to be noticed than anticipated. Still, everything was running according to plan. Her first officer, DeLorean, walked up with a status pad. "Captain, the station noticed us earlier than we calculated. We're detecting heightened comm signals." Aurora smoothed a bit of her short gray hair behind her ear. She was no rookie, having spent 2 decades in deep space missions, from border patrols to first contact events. That's fine, she said softly. We wanted them to find us, just not too soon. DeLorean read from the pad. Engineering says the stealth system is fully operational. We're giving off what looks like an injured power signature. The station must be thinking we're limping around after some fight. Lieutenant Fell, stationed at the sensor console, called out, they've initiated partial evacuations. It's subtle, but I see life pods moving away. Aurora sighed. We didn't want to scare them, but I suppose it was inevitable. Keep everything calm on our end. If they decide to greet us with force, we'll respond carefully. Fell acknowledged with a quick nod. Also, we're picking up comm chatter from their government. Looks like they're scrambling a fleet behind that nebula. Aurora watched the distant swirl of the celestial veil. It was quiet, colorful, and the perfect hiding place for an ambush. She wasn't worried. The Nova's Edge had many surprises built into its design. Let them come, she said gently. We're here to make contact, not start a fight, but they'll notice we're not exactly defenseless. Captain, DeLorean said. He checked a message from engineering. They also say the new reactor's performance is green across the board. We can jump to full combat readiness in under 30 seconds if needed. Aurora glanced back at the viewport. Good. Let's just hope the good folks out here prefer talking to shooting. Far away, the Grand Council gathered in a sweeping circular hall with towering pillars. Delegates from a dozen species argued over the holographic image of the Nova's Edge, rotating above the floor. Admiral Viron stood at a central podium, fists clenched. We must strike before they do. Viron wundereth. Humans are dangerous. A single human warship once annihilated an entire raider fleet during the storm of 5 moons. If they feel cornered, they'll do it again. Ambassador Lothair, known for her calm presence, stepped forward. Her silver-toned skin glimmered in the overhead lights. If we attack first, we risk confirming every rumor about humans. They might see us as hostile and respond in kind. She walked in a slow circle, addressing the crowd. Yes, they're powerful, but we don't know their intentions. For all we know, they could be here to establish peaceful ties. A deep voice rumbled from General Oren, a thick-set officer bound to a special gravity chair because he came from a high-gravity world. Peaceful ties in a warship? That seems odd. They're famous for traveling the stars in heavily armed vessels. Lothair countered, but not always to wage war. There are accounts of them saving colonies from disasters, too. The council leader, an elderly figure with 4 long arms, raised them all to call for quiet. What do our scanners say about that vessel's actual capabilities? A technical advisor shuffled forward, tapping a data display. It's all guesswork, council leader. Our scans show partial power usage, but even that minimal reading is higher than our dreadnoughts on full output. We can't get a precise fix. Their hull deflects or absorbs most sensor probes. Admiral Viron suolet, which means they have the upper hand. We can't let them do whatever they please in our territory. Ambassador Lothair flicked her gaze around the room. I propose a diplomatic approach. A small ship, minimal escort. We open a channel and see if they'll talk. If it's a trap, we'll know soon enough. Stone-faced, Viron nodded reluctantly. Fine. But we'll also move our main fleet to the Celestial Veil. If negotiations fail, we show them we won't be pushed around. The council leader brought down a gavel-like rod. Then it's decided. Admiral, position your ships at the nebula. Ambassador, you'll take a diplomatic vessel and attempt peaceful contact. The tension in the hall refused to fade. Everyone wondered the same thing. Would the humans greet them with diplomacy or devastating firepower? 2 hours later, a formation of 30 Unity ships slid out from behind the veil, traveling in a half-crescent. At the center was a bright diplomatic vessel named the Radiance. Ambassador Lothair stood on its bridge, counting heartbeats as she stared at the looming shape of the Nova's Edge on the main view screen. Around her, anxious officers watched for any hint that the human ship would open fire. They're powering up, someone said in a hushed tone. Look at those readings. The sensor graphs spiked sharply. Bit by bit, the battered look of the Nova's Edge seemed to peel away, replaced by a sleek, fully energized hull. Hidden turrets slid into view. Glowing lines of energy traced the plating. It was as though the entire vessel woke from hibernation. Aboard the Nova's Edge, Aurora Wynn tapped a control. Drop the stealth facade, she told the crew. They'll want to see what we really are. Lieutenant Fell engaged the command. Everyone on the bridge watched as the power signature soared, revealing the ship's true strength. If the aliens thought they were dealing with a drifting hulk, they now saw a fully operational warship. First Officer DeLorme spoke into a microphone. "Captain, the alien fleet is on high alert. They're definitely arming weapons, but in a subtle way." Aurora nodded. "Open a direct channel to that central diplomatic ship. Let's put them at ease." Back on the Radiance, Ambassador Lothier jumped at a console beep. "We're getting a message. It's in perfect Unity standard." She accepted it, and a calm voice filled the air. "This is Captain Aurora Wynn of the Nova's Edge, representing the Terran Alliance. We come in peace. We apologize if our arrival caused alarm. We'd like to open formal talks." Lothier inhaled, trying to steady her own voice. "I'm Ambassador Lothier of the Unity. We welcome peaceful contact. Your ship is remarkable." She heard a light laugh through the speakers. "We usually keep a low profile to avoid startling people. Looks like we failed this time." Unbeknownst to Lothier, the Nova's Edge had already scanned every inch of the Unity fleet. Aurora asked her AI, "Odyssey, what's your estimate of their combat capacity?" A steady voice replied, "Their 30 ships together pose minimal risk to us. Their weapon systems are an older generation. If it comes to a fight, we have a decisive advantage." Aurora responded to the ambassador. "We'd be happy to meet in person. We respect your territory. We only ask that any meeting be on neutral ground, with security for both sides." Ambassador Lothier hesitated, relieved but cautious. "We have a station nearby, Station Syra. Perhaps we could gather there." The fleet listened in stunned silence. On the overhead comm, Admiral Viren whispered to Lothier, "Be careful." It was already clear the humans were not aiming their weapons. They even kept shields low, as though to say, "We're not here to conquer." Word rippled through the entire Unity armada. Some officers lowered their tension levels. Others stayed rigid, uncertain if this was a trick. In the end, curiosity outweighed fear. The ambassador arranged a docking at Station Syra. Soon, a shuttle from the Nova's Edge arrived, silent as a ghost until final approach. Unity personnel in the docking bay watched, eyes wide. They expected giant, hulking creatures. Instead, the shuttle doors opened to reveal men and women who were surprisingly short compared to some Unity species. They wore crisp black uniforms with subtle silver patterns that glinted under the bay's lights. Commander Tovin, who had been transferred to Station Syra for this special event, stood with Ambassador Lothier and Admiral Viren. They greeted Captain Aurora Wynn, who offered a respectful nod. She mirrored Lothier's greeting gesture, a carefully studied motion with arms raised gently. A sign Aurora's team had done their homework. "Welcome," Lothier said, voice bright but shaky. "We appreciate you coming in peace." Aurora replied in a calm tone. "We hope our presence doesn't alarm you. We'd like to share knowledge and possibly form an alliance." She gestured to one of her crewmates, who set down a small metal case. Opening it revealed a holographic projector shining with remarkable clarity. Unity technicians gaped as this display looked years ahead of their best gear. "Just a taste of what we can do," Aurora said lightly. "We have a lot more to discuss. But first, I'm told you've been worrying about that corridor behind the Celestial Veil, the one you call the Crimson Rift Fleet's hunting ground." Silence descended. The Crimson Rift Fleet was a roving band of pirates and raiders. They'd grown bolder over the last few years, but no official word had gone out to the public. Tovin's eyes widened. "How do you know about that?" Aurora shrugged. "We've encountered them, or groups like them, in other parts of the galaxy. We've been tracking their movements with our sensors. They're planning something big in your sector. Our goal was to arrive before they caused serious trouble." While the Unity delegates were still digesting that revelation, an alarm echoed through the station speakers. A frantic voice, multiple warp signatures inbound. "It's them. The Crimson Rift Fleet has arrived." In that moment, nobody rushed at the humans. Instead, all eyes turned to the Nova's Edge crew, expecting them to retaliate or panic. Aurora's expression never changed. "So they're right on time," she said quietly. "Is your defense force ready?" "Admiral Viron Svalovith. We're outnumbered. We can't hold off a fleet that large. We thought they'd wait longer to attack." Aurora gave a calm nod. "Then let us assist. Odyssey, alert the Nova's Edge to prepare for combat maneuvers." Within moments, the Unity sensor screens lit up with red dots, 40 pirate vessels. Some were huge carrier ships, others were smaller, but bristling with stolen weapons. They moved aggressively, jamming communications. The Radiants tried to hail them, but the pirates responded with static-laced threats. Amid the confusion, the Nova's Edge undocked and glided into open space. On the station's monitors, the humans' warship pulsed with bright lines of energy. One Unity tech said, "They're ignoring the jamming?" "How?" Odyssey's voice crackled on a special channel to Aurora's communicator. "We're immune to their old generation signals. 40 ships in total, but I see multiple design flaws. We can disable them swiftly if needed." Aurora keyed her mic, addressing the Unity. "Stand by, everyone. My crew will handle this. Just move your ships in to catch any stragglers." Unity's leadership watched in disbelief as the Nova's Edge simply vanished off their scopes, blinking out. Then, in the middle of the pirate formation, sensor after sensor beeped a new signature, then another, then another. It appeared the Nova's Edge was hopping from point to point. A hush fell across Station Syra's command deck. "They're teleporting?" Tobin asked no one in particular. Gunfire lit up the starfield as the pirates reacted, but each volley missed. The warship was already gone each time they pulled the trigger. Meanwhile, the Nova's Edge sent out meticulously aimed shots that zeroed in on engines and weapon arrays, disabling the pirate vessels rather than destroying them. Aurora's voice came through the channel. "We find it's more efficient to knock them out of commission than to blow them up. Fewer accidents that way." One by one, the Crimson Rift ships floated helplessly, their thrusters offline or their guns fried. The two largest carriers tried to flee, but the Nova's Edge reappeared right in their path, releasing a warning volley that lit space with a dazzling glow. Realizing they were hopelessly outmatched, they powered down. Not even 10 minutes had passed. The entire pirate fleet was captured. Admiral Viren, who had rushed to the station's main observation window, stared open-mouthed. "By the stars, you took down 40 ships that quickly?" Aurora's voice answered calmly. "We've had centuries to perfect these tactics. Your own forces can mop up the rest. We'll ensure none escape." From that moment, any last doubt about human capabilities melted away. In the days that followed, the Nova's Edge and Unity ships worked side by side, securing the pirate vessels and rescuing coerced or enslaved crews. Some pirates, furious and frightened, yelled at how they never expected to face a Terran warship here. Ambassador Lother found Aurora Wynn in a newly cleared corridor, scanning data logs. Lother's tone carried astonishment and relief. "You could have demanded anything after this show of force, but instead you're asking for an alliance on equal footing." Aurora set down her tablet, meeting Lother's gaze with a friendly nod. "If you thrive, we thrive. We learned a long time ago that strong partnerships beat ruling through fear. We only show our strength so people understand we can handle threats like the Crimson Rift." Lother's silver skin glowed with a gentle pattern of respect. "Then you've proven your intentions. I'll recommend the Council accept your proposals for trade and defense agreements." Late into the third day, a gathering convened at the Grand Council's main hall. The atmosphere felt completely different from the tense debate that happened before. Representatives from every major Unity world arrived, excited by rumors of the humans' technology and how they routed the pirate invasion. Captain Aurora Wynn stood at the center, holographic visuals floating around her as she explained potential projects. A new joint defense station in the Deneb sector, technology sharing programs, and specialized training that would let the Unity handle future pirate threats on their OWN. In front of the crowd, Admiral Viren acknowledged, "Your presence here saved hundreds, maybe thousands, of lives." "We owe you our thanks, Captain." Aurora smiled softly. "All we ask is that you help us maintain peace in this region. We plan to keep the Nova's Edge around until you feel confident in your new defenses. After that, we'll remain on friendly terms, ready to assist if anything else arises." General Oren, who had been so wary at first, rumbled approval. "We have pirates in neighboring sectors. Will you help with those too?" "Of course," Aurora replied. "But we won't solve every problem for you. Our real mission is to help you become strong enough to handle it yourselves. We want partners, not dependents." Those words sent a ripple of pride through many Unity representatives. They had feared an occupying force, but the humans offered cooperation. Admiral Viren nodded in satisfaction, no longer brimming with fear, but with something else: respect. A short time later, an official treaty was signed. Aurora presented a secure data disk to Ambassador Lothair. Blueprints for improved shielding and sensor upgrades. They'll help you pick up cloak threats and stand your ground if more raiders come. Lothair's eyes shone. I can't thank you enough. She studied Aurora. When we saw your warship, we expected nightmares from the old stories, fierce conquerors. Instead, we got skilled explorers and defenders. Aurora's expression turned thoughtful. We used to fight constant wars long ago. We learned that while conflict can push technology forward, it tears people apart. It's more rewarding to build alliances. Commander Tovin, who had watched the entire process, approached with a shy grin. Captain, when I first detected you, I thought my station was doomed. Now I feel like this is exactly what we needed. A reminder that true power can serve peace. Aurora patted his shoulder. We appreciate the welcome, Commander. Working together, I think the Deneb sector will become a safer place. In the weeks that followed, human engineers cooperated with Unity crews to install new shield generators and advanced scanners on key Unity outposts. The same technology that baffled the station staff before was now demystified by patient instruction. The humans didn't hoard their knowledge. They taught the basics step by step, letting the locals adapt at their own pace. Meanwhile, the Nova's Edge patrolled the outer borders, tracking small pockets of pirates or smugglers. Unity frigates trailed along, gradually learning how to coordinate warp jumps, how to detect advanced cloaking, and how to handle tricky zero-gravity boarding operations. Everywhere they went, word spread. These mythical humans had arrived, not as conquerors, but as partners. At one point, an ex-pirate crew demanded to know, how did your single ship jump around so fast? Was it hundreds of ships faking us out? A lieutenant from the Nova's Edge calmly explained the basics of quantum teleportation. The ex-pirates just stared in awe, muttering, we never stood a chance. Across the sector, curious scientists, diplomats, and even cultural scholars lined up to meet the humans. Some found them surprisingly normal, eating, sleeping, joking, and sharing personal stories about Earth, a planet of varied climates and intense gravity that shaped them into adaptable beings. Others marveled at the advanced AI, Odyssey, that could coordinate a space battle in seconds, yet also chat politely with station staff. Perhaps the biggest shift came when the final shape of a new defense station, Vanguard Point, was revealed. It would be co-managed by Unity officers and a small human advisory team, forging a joint presence that let every neighbor in the region know. This sector was off-limits to raiders. The official unveiling ceremony was a major event. Aurora Wynn, Admiral Viren, Ambassador Lothair, and Commander Tovin stood side by side. Cameras from across the Unity's broadcasting networks captured it all. A hush fell as Aurora spoke. We once believed we had to roam the galaxy alone, stepping in only when things got dire. But you've reminded us that collaboration isn't a weakness, it's strength. She looked at the crowd. We want to be your allies for decades to come. Viren, the tension in his face long gone, raised a salute. Captain Wynn, the Unity never imagined we'd say this about humans. We're grateful you're here, and we'll do everything in our power to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Cheers erupted. Crew members from dozens of species applauded. Some looked close to tears, overwhelmed by how quickly fear had turned into genuine camaraderie. Later that evening, Commander Tovin found a quiet moment with Aurora Wynn by a large viewport overlooking the station's interior docking ring. They watched the Nova's Edge gently glide toward its berth, lights reflecting off the polished metal. Tovin's voice was low. I used to read those wild stories about humans. I believed maybe half of them at most. Now, having seen what you can do and how you approach problems, I understand why so many stories exist. You really can do the impossible. Aurora met his gaze. The impossible is easier when you have the right mindset. We adapt, we learn, and we aim to solve issues without turning everything to rubble. Tovin nodded thoughtfully. That's the best lesson of all. Whenever we mention your help, everyone just sighs with relief. They say, this is exactly what we needed today. We've been on edge for so long, bracing for pirates and other threats. Now, we have confidence again. Aurora smiled. That feeling of safety is what we hope to bring. And maybe down the line, you'll do the same for someone else. Tovin's scales shimmered with quiet pride. I think we will. We have good teachers. Word spread beyond the Deneb sector that humans had arrived, forging strong ties rather than toppling governments. Soon, more distant worlds sent delegates, each curious if the stories they heard were true. In response, the Nova's Edge extended small invitations, orchestrating demonstration flights or joint rescue missions. Time and again, the humans showed skill, yes, but also mercy and patience. Admiral Viron's final dispatch to the Council read, "The humans have proven that might can serve peace. They hold technology we barely comprehend, yet they offer it freely for mutual benefit. We no longer fear them. We stand ready to walk alongside them." Amid all the politics and celebrations, Aurora Wynn enjoyed a modest moment on her ship's bridge. She sipped a cup of tea, a minor Earth tradition she had introduced to a curious Tovan, thinking of how easily this situation could have gone wrong if her crew had arrived guns blazing. Instead, they defused tension by showing both honesty and superior skill. Odyssey, the AI, spoke softly from the overhead console. "Captain, your presence is requested for a briefing with the new Unity patrol group. They'd like pointers on handling a rumored pirate ring near Helia Minor." Aurora set down her tea. "Of course, Odyssey. Let's keep sharing what we know." She rose from her command seat, the black uniform shifting with subtle metallic threads, part protective gear, part advanced sensor weave. The entire crew braced for another day of bridging worlds, forging alliances, and proving that the name human need not be feared in these parts. Their story spread quickly across star lanes. How a single Terran warship drifted into Unity space, terrified everyone, then shattered an entire fleet of raiders in minutes, and ended up signing a treaty that would reshape the region. For some, it was a new legend to whisper late at night. For others, it was a wake-up call about how technology and compassion could converge in unexpected ways. Finally, Aurora paused to gaze out a large viewport at a swirl of stars. She knew there were more sectors out there, more potential threats, more new friends to be made. If the Deneb sector was any example, then the future held bright possibilities. Still, she reminded herself that misunderstandings could flare up at any time. That was why the Nova's Edge traveled prepared, not to dominate, but to be ready for any challenge that a few days later, they launched from Station Syra for a routine patrol, accompanied by 2 Unity frigates. The friendly banter between the humans and the Unity officers over comm channels underlined how quickly relationships had warmed. Tovan's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, we see an unknown reading near Helia Minor. Could be more raider stragglers. Care to show us that teleport trick again?" Aurora chuckled lightly. "We'll give you a front row seat. Just remember, our main goal is to get them to surrender peacefully if we can." A short pause. Then Tovan answered, "Agreed. Let's do it." And with that, the Nova's Edge zipped forward, engines glowing bright. The Unity vessels followed behind, no longer uncertain or afraid, but filled with a sense of purpose. All across the Deneb sector, people spoke of this new alliance, a powerful symbol of how intimidation could turn to trust once fear was replaced by honest conversation and reliable partnership. In time, more sectors would join them. In time, they might face other threats, cosmic or political. But for now, the humans and the Unity stood side by side, forging a fresh chapter in the galaxy's history. And it all began when one so-called menacing warship arrived, quietly announcing it was here to help. Such as how a single vessel, loaded with formidable weapons and advanced technology, became the spark of hope rather than a herald of doom. The Deneb sector would never be the same again, and most folks agreed that was a very good thing.